All right, Bryan Passink, former Alabama player, analyst, Crimson Tide Sports Network. He's on Twitter at Bryan Passink. If you would like to follow him there, he is in San Diego for Bama Notre Dame. What's up, Passink? How are you?
Doing great, guys. How are y'all?
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Brian's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. We'll start with some very bad news for you. Jim Dunaway has picked Alabama to win today. In fact, he's Passink, he's in Vegas. He's legally bet on the University of Alabama to win today.
I haven't checked the line. I assume that moved.
No, so Brian, it's up to 4, but the problem is Dunaway didn't just lay the 4 where you guys could escape with a 1-2-3 or maybe even give him a push, a 4-point win. He played money line. He left you no room.
All right. I'm about to be around the players and coaches. I'm not going to mention that.
I would not. Yeah.
Just from a confidence standpoint, I want our guys with the right mindset, feeling confident. And obviously, that is not the news anyone wants to hear that's affiliated with Alabama. But congratulations to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Hey, got done away with them.
And speaking of the Irish, going back to Wednesday night, we were all up watching that game, and it went into St. Patrick's Day, Eastern time. When you watched that game, though, Rutgers and Notre Dame, were you pulling for one side? Did one side style suit Alabama better than the other?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's funny. I watched the game, obviously, love this time of year, watch them all. That one was certainly one that we all had our eyes on. I think I changed my mind 10 times on who I would rather play. Every time Notre Dame would go on a run, I'm like, I think we match up better with Rutgers. And then all of a sudden Rutgers would start imposing their will and with the way they play defensively. And Ron Harper Jr., one of the toughest players in the country, I decided I wanted to play Notre Dame. It just went back and forth. Now, one thing that I was pulling for, I was pulling for like quadruple overtime.
Yeah, you almost got it.
Overtime. Yeah. So that was good. And I think Notre Dame got into San Diego at 4 a.m. sometime around then. So that was potentially positive news. I guess you could say it's been neutralized by what Jim Dunaway has done in Las Vegas, but still, that is not a terrible thing, and it's interesting. It feels like Alabama hasn't played in a month. I mean, it's been 8 days, and to have that much time off this time of the season is rare, and you kind of worry about, okay, will you be able to get back at it after having a week plus off, and then obviously Notre Dame with not much time to prepare at all. But there's something about winning an NCAA tournament game that gets the adrenaline going and gets you maybe past some of the fatigue that they may experience. But right now, they're on a high, and they're a team that I think that Alabama can match up with, but they have to do the job defensively against a team that can really shoot it from three. They spread you out. They've got a terrific player in Paul Atkinson Jr. On the post. But this is a Notre Dame team that can get hot from the perimeter from 4 or 5 different spots. So Alabama has to be dialed in on the defensive end.
All right, so Bryan Passink is with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline from a coaching perspective. So Mike Brey, you mentioned they play double overtime, right? They've had to prepare for Rutgers. If they don't beat Rutgers, it doesn't matter about Alabama, right? So they've had to prepare for Rutgers. Obviously, I know you've had an assistant scouting Alabama, so they've got the scout ready to go. But practically, when you land at 4 or 5 in the morning, how much Alabama have they been able to look at and install for this game today, do you think?
Not much. And the thing that you're used to with conference tournaments is a quick turnaround time, but in that situation, it's equal. Both teams don't have much time to prepare.
And I've played that team earlier in the season, probably. So
that's right. Yeah. So it is a unique situation for Notre Dame. From Alabama's standpoint, they went a couple of days of practice where they spent equal amount of time on Notre Dame and Rutgers. So even though you're splitting the time, you're not exactly sure who you're going to play. I would say advantage Alabama in that regard. But Notre Dame also has got the nerves out, which a first game of an NCAA tournament, everybody's nervous, and they won a game, and I don't know, you guys probably did, the post-game locker room and the excitement level that they had in winning probably the best first 4 game that we've ever seen, and just an incredible game, well played at a high level between both teams. So they haven't had a ton of time to prepare, but you're exactly right. I mean, they had that scouting report ready to go. How much time they were able to spend on it yesterday, I'm not sure. I would imagine that they spent a lot of time watching film, walkthroughs, and just preparing strategically for what they were going to do, and probably limited time in the practice gym. I know that they were at the arena last night shooting, but I would be surprised if they spent a ton of time going full speed, if they did it all yesterday, because rest is what the Irish probably needed most.
You've watched this Alabama courtside 32 times this year. What's been more surprising and frustrating, the turnovers or the inability to consistently hit the three?
Well, I would say the turnovers. That's something that has been a problem. And listen, Alabama has not shot the three nearly as well as they did a year ago. I'm not really surprised by that because of the personnel. What this team has done on the offensive end at a very high level is at the rim twos. Alabama's top 10 in the country in 2-point percentage, and although they do shoot a bunch of threes, they've done a nice job of getting to the rim, getting to the free throw line, even though they missed free throws against Vanderbilt coming into that game, second in the SEC in free throw percentage in conference games. So they're capable of scoring at the rim and getting to the line and converting. And the turnovers have been an issue, obviously. The good thing is, hopefully a good thing, is this Notre Dame team, while they're solid defensively, and they are, their numbers don't jump out at you on the defensive end, but they do a great job of playing position defense, keeping guys in front. They don't create a lot of turnovers. And in Alabama's last 3 games, they played the number 1, 2, and a top 25 team in turnover rate. You had LSU, who's number 1 in the country in steal percentage. The number 2 team was Texas A&M in the home finale. Vanderbilt mixes up defenses, and they're aggressive on the defensive end and create a lot of turnovers. Now, Alabama did not do a very good job, obviously, against either of those 3 teams taking care of the ball. And hopefully they'll be better in that area today against a solid Notre Dame team, but not a team that's going to extend their pressure and take chances on the defensive end.
Finally, Brian, before you go, Nate Oates was on our show Monday, and Lance point-blank asked him, I know you don't want to put pressure on a guy, but who's got to step up right now? He said Javon Quinterly. You may or may not agree with Coach Oates, but if you do agree that it's Quinterly, who's number 2 on that list? Who would you say this guy also, he may not be number 1 that's got to have a great tournament, but he needs to be number 2?
Yeah, I agree with that on JQ, and I would say the hometown boy, Jaden Shackelford, who's from just down the road, about an hour and a half, 2 hours away in Hesperia, a Southern California guy that's been in Tuscaloosa the last 3 years, Alabama's leading scorer, has done so much over the course of his career, and feel like he needs to play well and shoot it well. And it seems obvious to say, okay, Alabama needs to shoot it well in this game today to win. But I think with the way that Notre Dame plays defensively, they're going to give you a step. They do a really good job of keeping dribble penetration in front of them, and they may give up an open 3 before they give up a drive to the basket. So guys like JQ, Jade Shackelford, J.D. Davison, Keon Ellis, they should have open looks from the 3-point line today against Notre Dame. So hopefully Bama will be able to make some perimeter jump shots, because I think they're going to play that way on the defensive end and err on the side of giving up the 3 ball as opposed to the dribble drive. All
right, Chris Stewart, Tom Stipe, Roger Hoover, and this guy right here, Bryan Passink, going to be right there in San Diego. Airtime is 2 o'clock. Am I right about that? 2 Central, right? Because it is a 3:15 tip, but y'all start at 2.
That is correct.
All right, 2 o'clock. If you want to be out and about listening to that game today as Alabama takes on Notre Dame. All right, enjoy San Diego. I'm sure the weather's a little better than it is here today, Brian, so I hope you get to soak up some of it.
Sunny and 73, but a cold front's coming in tomorrow, so it's only going to be 68. So hopefully we'll
56 and pouring here, Brian.
That's right, yeah. I'll take that cold front you got coming in. How about that?
No doubt about it.
All right, thanks, Brian. Take care.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Bryan Passink with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.